happens all the time, right? You get this powerful new software, maybe an ERP system, and it's supposed to do, well, everything.
The promise is huge.
And it mostly does.
Yeah.
But then you try to make it fit the specific, maybe slightly weird, definitely unique way your business actually runs, and boom, friction.
Yeah, that gap, that's where the sort of generic out-of-the-box solution meets the messy reality of how things actually get done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with something as, fundamental as an ERP, that gap can seriously slow you down. It can hinder efficiency, even growth.
Absolutely.
And that specific challenge is exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking closely at NetSuite. It's one of the big players in the ERP space, and specifically why and how companies end up tailoring it.
Right. And we've got this great set of sources here, which you, our listener, provided. They really lay out the whole picture for us.
Yeah, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Let's unpack what these sources tell us about why customizing NetSuite is, well, so critical for different industries, and crucially, how its own built-in tools actually make that kind of tailoring possible.
Consider this material our roadmap for the conversation.
Perfect. Let's jump right in. What do the sources say first about why this customization is such a big deal?
Okay, so the sources, they immediately acknowledge NetSuite's core strengths. Its flexibility, how it scales, its reputation as a top cloud ERP. That's all there.
Sure, the baseline is strong.
But they pivot pretty quickly to the main challenge, that standard off-the-shelf configuration. It often just falls short when faced with really unique business needs.
Right, because no two businesses are identical, are they? Even if they're in the same sector. And, as companies scale up, their processes tend to get even more specific, more ingrained.
Exactly. And the sources actually drop a pretty compelling number early on. They state that 70% of businesses see improved data quality and access after they implement ERP customizations.
Wow, 70%, that's huge.
It really is. And it draws a direct line, doesn't it, between tailoring the system and fundamental operational health. Better data, better decisions.
That stat really hits home. It's not just about making things a bit nicer to use, it's about the core information quality. Why do you think, based on the sources, data quality specifically jumps so much after customization?
Well, I think the sources suggest it's because when you customize NetSuite to actually mirror your real workflows and capture your specific data points, maybe that's a unique product code or a specific step in how you deliver a service or some compliance data that your industry requires, the system stops trying to force you into its generic box. So users are putting in data that directly maps to what's actually happening. It just makes the data more accurate, more relevant right from the get-go.
That makes total sense. If the system looks and feels like my business process, I'm less likely to try and, cram square pegs into round holes.
Yeah.
Cleaner data in, cleaner data out.
Precisely. And the sources, they really expand on this why. They list several key benefits driving the need for customization, especially when you look across different industries. First up is addressing those specific industry needs.
Like, a manufacturer tracks work in progress totally differently than a software company tracks subscriptions, right? Or a retailer tracks online sales. Their whole operational structure is different.
Yes, exactly. And NetSuite needs to reflect that unique structure, the terminology they use, the specific workflow demands, which, leads directly into the next point, the ability to build custom workflows.
So automating the actual steps you take, not just some generic process the software company thought up, getting rid of those manual handoffs or awkward workarounds.
Exactly. Streamlining your unique processes. Then there's compliance and alignment. Super important. Lots of industries face strict regulations. Customization helps make sure your ERP isn't just running the business, but actively helping you meet those specific compliance rules and aligning with your company's strategic goals.
Which connects directly to reporting capabilities, I imagine.
You got it. You're not stuck with just the standard dashboards. You can build reports that track the KPIs, the metrics that matter most to your specific business model, your industry.
Yeah, if you're a SaaS business, you need to see MRR and churn instantly. If you're in manufacturing, maybe it's yield rates or machine uptime. The system has to show your vital signs.
Absolutely. And critically, the sources also highlight third-party integration. Let's face it, most businesses don't operate in a NetSuite vacuum. They've got specialized CRMs, marketing tools, maybe e-commerce platforms.
Yeah, lots of other pieces in the puzzle.
Customization lets NetSuite talk smoothly with those other critical tools.
And the last big benefit the sources mention:
scalability and growth. The idea is that a system tailored to your unique needs today is actually better positioned to adapt as those needs evolve tomorrow. It helps you grow more confidently without bumping up against a rigid system ceiling.
Okay, so pulling all that together, the core message from the sources on the why seems to be customization isn't just like a nice-to-have feature. It's pretty much a strategic necessity if you want your ERP, your business's central nervous system, to truly understand and empower the specific, often complex reality of how your business and industry actually work.
You've nailed it. That's
No.
the essence of why it matters so much.
That makes the case for why incredibly clear.
Yeah.
So the next logical question is, how? How does NetSuite actually let you do all this tailoring? What are the tools built into the platform that make it happen?
Right. So NetSuite offers quite a powerful toolkit. It really spans the spectrum from relatively simple configurations that anyone can manage all the way to deep developer-level customization.
Okay, the first tool the sources really seem to focus on is SuiteBuilder. What's the deal with that one?
Think of SuiteBuilder as your go-to for non-code customization. It's primarily a configuration tool. It lets users do things like create custom forms, add unique fields to existing records, or even build entirely new custom record types that are specific to their business.
You can also modify how layouts look, maybe rearrange fields, or just rename the labels on existing fields to match your company's internal language, your jargon.
So let's say I'm a distribution company.
Yeah.
And I need to track a specific kind of serial number format, or maybe add a checkbox for requires refrigeration on an inventory item. SuiteBuilder lets me just add that field, position it where I want it, make it look right.
Exactly that. It really empowers users, often business analysts or admins, to tailor the system's interface and how it captures data so it aligns perfectly with their specific industry needs or compliance rules, or even just how different departments or user roles need to see information. And importantly, all without writing a single line of code.
Okay, that sounds like the visual, user-facing, no-code side of things. What happens when you need something more dynamic? Something with more complex logic built in? The sources bring up SuiteScript, right? SuiteScript, that's the developer's territory. This is where you get really deep control over the platform's underlying logic and behavior. It's based on JavaScript, and it allows developers to build dynamic actions, implement really complex data validation rules that go way beyond just simple field types, and generally extend NetSuite's functionality in ways that just aren't possible with the standard configuration tools.
So this is where you build the really sophisticated stuff, like maybe automatically calculating complex tiered pricing based on a customer's purchase history and the quantity they're ordering.
Precisely. Or maybe generating related records automatically when a certain event happens. Or setting up custom notifications that only trigger under very specific combined criteria.
Got it. And complex integrations too, I bet.
Yes, absolutely essential for that, especially when the data flow between NetSuite and a third-party system is unique or the logic required to sync them is complicated. SuiteScript provides that power for deep, dynamic customization needed to support, complex operational growth, while still making sure the core platform's integrity is maintained.
Okay, makes sense. So SuiteBuilder for the structure, the fields, the look and feel. SuiteScript for the deep, custom, dynamic logic. And the third key tool the sources highlight is SuiteFlow. They describe this one as a no-code workflow automation tool.
Yeah, SuiteFlow is all about automating those multi-step business processes, but doing it visually. Again, the key here is often without needing to write code. You can use it to build custom workflows to automate things like, say, approval chains.
Oh.
Or automatically updating the status of a record based on certain actions, or maybe triggering field changes across different related records.
So you could map out something like a purchase order approval process. Maybe it needs one manager's approval under $1,000, but two managers if it's over that. Or maybe an employee onboarding sequence with different steps for IT, HR, and the hiring manager.
Exactly. It lets you visually design a flow that mirrors how things actually happen in your business and then automates it right inside NetSuite. The big benefit here, according to the sources, is that it empowers users across different departments, could be sales, finance, operations, to automate logic and streamline processes themselves relatively quickly and easily. It's designed to adapt as your business processes evolve, offering agility without a heavy technical lift.
Okay, so you've got this trio. SuiteBuilder shapes the data and the interface. SuiteScript builds the really custom logic and complex integrations. And SuiteFlow automates the step-by-step processes visually. That really does sound like a comprehensive toolkit for tailoring the platform.
It really provides that foundation needed to adapt NetSuite to just a vast array of different operational models and specific industry requirements.
Let's make this more concrete. The sources give some great industry examples. How about we walk through those? First up, they mention manufacturing. What are the particular needs there, and how do these tools actually help?
Yeah, manufacturing. They need incredibly precise control, right? Think about detailed production schedules, managing inventory down to the component level, robust quality control reporting, needing full traceability for parts, real-time visibility onto the shop floor is usually non-negotiable.
Okay, demanding environment. So how is NetSuite tailored to handle that?
Well, using SuiteBuilder, manufacturers can create custom forms maybe for specific work order details, or tracking unique stages in their production process, or capturing really detailed quality inspection data, maybe right from a tablet on the factory floor.
Mm-hmm.
Then, SuiteScript becomes crucial for things like automating alerts, maybe if a production step is running way behind schedule, or triggering complex inventory reorder points based on, say, dynamic demand forecasts and current lead times,
Oh.
or even automating the scheduling of quality inspections based on production milestones.
Right, so the goal is really to tightly align the ERP system with the physical realities of making things, cutting down on errors, and making sure they meet all those often very strict industry regulations.
Precisely. It bridges the digital and physical operations.
Okay, let's shift gears completely. The sources also talk about SaaS companies, software as a service. Totally different world. Their focus is on subscriptions, recurring revenue, customer life cycles.
Right. SaaS businesses, they live and die by metrics like monthly recurring revenue, MRR, churn rate, customer acquisition cost, lifetime value. Their operational needs really revolve around managing subscription billing complexities, handling contract renewals smoothly, and tracking that whole customer journey from prospect to long-term user.
So how does NetSuite customization play into that unique subscription model?
Well, SuiteFlow is often perfect for automating processes like renewals, maybe sending out notifications automatically as contracts approach their end date, or triggering specific tasks for the customer success team based on where a customer is in their life cycle.
Okay.
And the sources also specifically mention integrating NetSuite with specialized analytics and billing tools. They name examples like ChartMogul or ProfitWell. Doing that often requires SuiteScript and NetSuite's integration tools to handle the data exchange.
So you're using custom workflows and custom integrations to essentially automate the core subscription engine, track those unique SaaS metrics, and crucially, give everyone, finance, sales, customer success, a single unified view of the customer.
Exactly. It's about customizing NetSuite around that fundamental recurring revenue engine, managing potentially complex billing logic, and providing that centralized visibility across the entire customer lifecycle. That's key for SaaS.
Makes sense. And the third example they dive into is e-commerce.
Yeah.
Speed, volume, multiple channels. That seems to be their game.
Yeah, e-commerce is all about seamless, often high-volume, high-speed operations. Things like real-time inventory visibility across maybe a website, mobile app, and marketplaces is critical. Plus, efficient fulfillment, often from multiple locations, and trying to provide personalized customer engagement.
So how is NetSuite tailored for that kind of fast-paced environment?
Okay, this is where integration becomes absolutely vital, as the sources point out. Connecting NetSuite seamlessly with e-commerce platforms, they mention examples like Shopify or Magento is usually step one. Then, SuiteFlow workflows can automate the entire order processing lifecycle. From the moment an order is captured online, through inventory allocation, fulfillment, shipping updates, and even handling returns. You can build specific shipping logic or rules for promotions right into those flows.
And reporting must be huge, too.
Oh, absolutely. Building custom reports using SuiteBuilder may be tracking specific fulfillment KPIs like time to ship, or conversion rates broken down by sales channel, or identifying seasonal sales trends to manage inventory better.
So the goal here is optimizing those high-volume operations, keeping customers happy with smooth fulfillment, and being able to scale up quickly during peak times like holidays.
You nailed it. And you see the pattern, right? Whether it's manufacturing, SaaS, e-commerce, or really any other industry, the underlying principle the sources highlight is the same. NetSuite's customization tools allow businesses to fundamentally shape the platform to fit their specific operational DNA.
That brings us neatly to that point about integrating with other software. It came up in all those examples and seems like a massive piece of this customization puzzle. As the sources note, very few companies just use NetSuite all by itself.
Absolutely not. It's rare. You've almost always got a CRM in the mix, like Salesforce or HubSpot. You've got those e-commerce platforms we mentioned, maybe specialized finance or budgeting tools, perhaps warehouse management systems. The list goes on.
And if those systems don't talk effectively to NetSuite,
You're looking at a world of pain, Manual data entry, which is slow and error-prone, delays in getting information where it needs to go, a fragmented, inconsistent view of your own business. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, that manual data entry headache is real. So the value of integration is getting that data flowing automatically, right? Keeping everyone, sales, finance, operations, working off the same up-to-date information. Sales sees the real-time order status from the warehouse. Finance sees accurate revenue data as soon as the sale closes. Inventory gets updated instantly when something sells online.
Precisely. It eliminates data silos and improves accuracy and collaboration. And NetSuite provides tools specifically designed for this integration. The sources mention SuiteTalk, which is basically its web services API framework, and also RESTlets, which let developers create custom RESTful integration points for more modern, flexible connections.
So NetSuite is fundamentally built to connect with other systems. But what happens if the data flow you need is really complex? Or maybe it's totally unique to your specific setup, and the standard connectors just don't cut it.
Yeah, that's a common scenario. And that's where custom scripts for integration using SuiteScript become absolutely essential. Developers can use SuiteScript to build completely bespoke logic to manage those intricate data flows between systems.
What kind of logic are we talking?
Oh, all sorts. It might involve transforming data formats on the fly as it moves between NetSuite and another system, or enforcing specific business rules during the synchronization, like maybe only sync orders over a certain value or only sync customer updates if a specific field is populated. It could also be controlling the exact timing and conditions under which data transfers happen, or handling really complex mapping between fields or records in the two systems, something that a standard connector might struggle with. Basically, anything beyond simple, direct data transfer.
Wow. So even for the most complex, unique, maybe even slightly bizarre integration challenges, you can still use NetSuite's own tools, specifically SuiteScript, to build the exact data bridge you need between your systems.
That's the idea. It ensures your entire technology stack can work together cohesively, with NetSuite acting as that central hub, supporting your business's unique processes and, importantly, your growth requirements.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly powerful, but it also sounds like something you really need to approach strategically. You can't just dive in randomly adding fields and scripts, right? The sources outline some steps for actually starting a NetSuite customization project successfully.
Oh, absolutely. Planning is non-negotiable if you want this to succeed. Rushing into customization without a clear plan is a recipe for problems down the road. The sources lay out a pretty clear logical path. Step 1. Assess internal workflows and business objectives. Meaning you need to deeply understand how your business actually operates today. What are the real process flows? Where are the bottlenecks? What are the specific compliance requirements you have to meet? And, crucially, what are your strategic goals for the system? What do you need it to achieve? This really maps out the why behind the customization and identifies the areas where it can have the biggest impact.
Got it. Understand the current state before you try and design the future state. Makes sense.
Exactly. Then, step 2, define specific requirements and industry needs. This is where you get into the weeds. You need to talk to every department, every team that will touch the system. What are the granular needs? What specific custom reports do they absolutely need? What compliance tracking has to be built in? What workflows need automating? You have to capture these precise requirements from the people who will actually use the system day in, day out.
Don't just guess what people need, actually ask them.
Precisely. If you don't, you risk building something that looks good on paper but doesn't actually solve the real problems. And then a really critical step the sources emphasize heavily. Choose the right NetSuite partner or consultant.
So don't try to go it alone necessarily.
For most companies, especially with significant customization, it's highly recommended. A good partner brings a ton of expertise. They can help you navigate all the customization options. They understand how to optimize the system architecture for performance. They know industry best practices. And importantly, they can help you avoid potential pitfalls, like over-customization, which can make future NetSuite upgrades much more difficult and costly.
Right. Finding someone who really understands how to tailor a system effectively around your specific needs, like the kind of specialized partner described in the source material, seems really key, not just a generic implementer who knows the basics.
Absolutely critical. Their experience is invaluable for ensuring long-term success and really maximizing the return on your NetSuite investment. Okay, step 4, build, test, and refine. This is crucial. Do all your custom development, the scripts, the workflows, the configurations in a sandbox environment first.
Not in the live system.
Definitely not. And then test everything rigorously. Get the actual users, the stakeholders involved in testing. Does it work as expected? Does it meet the requirements we defined back in step 2? Validate everything before you even think about deploying it to your live production environment.
Test, test, test. Measure twice, cut once, basically.
You got it. And finally, step 5, launch, monitor, and optimize continuously. Going live isn't the end of the project. Once it's launched, you need to monitor its performance. Actively gather feedback from your users. What's working well? What could be improved? And be prepared to iterate. One of the strengths of NetSuite's platform is that it generally supports ongoing updates and refinements, allowing the system to evolve as your business inevitably changes and grows.
So it's not just a one-time setup and you're done. It's more like an ongoing journey of optimization, keeping the system aligned with the business.
Exactly. Aligning your core system with your business growth is fundamentally a continuous process.
Okay, so based on everything these sources have shown us, the compelling why, the how, with those core tools like SuiteBuilder, SuiteScript, SuiteFlow, the real-world industry examples, the critical role of integration, that strategic process for getting it right, what's the overall verdict from these sources? Is NetSuite actually a good platform if customization is a major requirement?
Yeah, the sources come down pretty definitively on this. The conclusion is a clear yes. NetSuite is absolutely built for this kind of tailoring and, in fact, stands out as a premier choice if you need an ERP system that can genuinely grow and adapt alongside your specific operational reality.
Because its underlying architecture was fundamentally designed with flexibility in mind, offering that whole robust suite of tools we talked about, SuiteBuilder, SuiteScript, SuiteFlow, plus the integration tools like SuiteTalk and Restlets.
Right. It provides that powerful yet adaptable framework needed to precisely align the ERP system with your company's exact business model, to meet those unique industry needs, maintain compliance, integrate effectively with your wider tech stack, and importantly, do all that without necessarily sacrificing core performance if it's done well.
It almost sounds like it gives you the raw power and scope of a big enterprise system, but also provides the modeling clay, so to speak, that you need to shape it into exactly what your particular business requires.
That's a good way to put it. The sources suggest it allows businesses to create an ERP environment that doesn't just passively support their operations, but one that actively enhances and streamlines their specific, unique ways of working.
Well, this has been a really, really insightful deep dive, taking those sources you, our listeners, shared and unpacking the whole world of NetSuite customization, why it's needed, how it works, how to approach it. Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I think the core takeaway, weaving through all the sources, is that viewing NetSuite customization not just as a technical task, but as a strategic investment, a proactive step towards shaping your core business system, that's what really transforms it. It becomes this dynamic platform that truly supports growth, enables innovation, and handles the unique demands of your specific industry.
It really underscores that the true value isn't just in buying the software itself, but in that deliberate effort to align those powerful workflows, those critical integrations, and those tailored user experiences precisely with your business reality.
Making sure the engine isn't just powerful, but it's perfectly tuned for the specific race you're running.
Which, leaves us with a final thought, maybe something to ponder that builds on this whole idea of deeply tailoring our core systems. Given how incredibly customizable, powerful tools like NetSuite clearly are tools literally designed to be shaped to our specific needs, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are we, in our own daily lives and work, fully leveraging the potential of the digital tools we use every single day? Or are we, perhaps more often than we realize, leaving a significant amount of untapped value on the table just by sticking to the defaults?
That's a great question to chew on. Definitely something to think about.